to The Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee. And today, I have the privilege of being in conversation with a plant and interior stylist, author of Wild Creations, Wild Interiors, and Wild at Home, all out now. He's the co-owner of Green Neighbor Plant Shop. Please welcome Hilton Carter.
Thanks for having me, Rob. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. It's definitely a treat. It's like you're always moving. It's almost shark-like in some ways. It's like I can't catch up to Hilton. He's always moving. So, before we get like super deep into the conversation, until we get into the weeds.
Of course,
weeds
nice.
doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It's all good. Hey, every plant deserves a bit of shine, right? Like, who are we to say what is a weed and what isn't? So any plant can be called a weed if you're not a big fan of it. But yeah, man, throwing as many plant puns as you want.
I have another one. I mean, if we get to the root of the issue here, yeah. But if you will, share the Hilton Carter story or what have you. It's one of those things where it's like people know you and they're like, yo, this guy is like really cool in this way. And then other people are like, well, what about this background? So I'd rather hear directly from you.
Yeah, man. It's a journey through, I would say, art, I guess. And quick note to your audience, I am a little under the weather. So there might be moments where I have to gather myself just to make sure that I can get the words out. But I'm local, born and raised in Baltimore, spent some time out in California, but I guess I'll go through that. As a kid, I just knew that I wanted to be an artist. I mean, that was the first thing, first little, I would say, dream of mine was to be an artist. I didn't know what type of artist, maybe a cartoonist, maybe a filmmaker. I was really loving film. I loved animation, so cartoons was close to that. I love entertaining, like entertainment, I guess. But I did a lot of drawing. So I ended up taking classes at Essex Community College when I was in 5th grade, like over the summer. And then I ended up making my way into a magnet school for high school called Carver Center for Art and Technology, chasing this want to be a filmmaker. Now, I started to grow vertically in high school, but I was always a little wide horizontally. So I had this thought. I was like, you know what? I played football when I was a kid. When I was like 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, I decided I'm going to be on the football team at my high school, which is an art high school. We think about it. And I played, but and I did really well, but our team didn't do so well. We're all artists, and there were woodworkers and dancers and theater folks all trying to be on a football team. So it was a pretty fun team, but nothing worth putting banners up in the rafters. There was no winning happening over there. But so at a certain point, high school sports, they were a way to keep me fit, I would say, but also just like keep me around a lot of people, making certain friends. But at the same time, it just was something that I knew wasn't going to be the thing that I would end up doing after high school. So I started to dig more into my art, left high school, went to MICA, got a degree at MICA in the GFA department, which is General Fine Arts, because I had zero idea what I wanted to do in art. I thought I was going to be a painter, shifted gears and decided I was going to be a filmmaker. So after I got my BFA, I moved out to California to get my MFA in film. And I left that school. I went to Art Center College of Design. I left there as a freelance director and making music videos, short films, commercials. And it was awesome. I loved it. I still love it. But I would say that the thing that connects me, the Hilton that you're interviewing, the Hilton that has books out based on interior styling and plant styling mainly is based on the fact that at a certain point in my learning, my education in film, I fell in love with the art department side of film, the production design group, and creating a space and making the space become a character in the film or the commercial, in this video, like really pouring my heart into what the space looked like and how that space told a part of the story. Yeah. So when I left California, I moved to New Orleans for a quick stint for about 18 months, and then moved back to Baltimore in 2015. In 2015, my friend of mine, a good friend of mine, was working at an ad agency as a creative director, and he wanted to bring me in to do the video side of their department. And I got there, and I mean, honestly, Rob, working freelance for such a long time, you find yourself stressed. You know, freelance is a stressful lifestyle. Every day you got to figure out how you're going to pay the rent, how you gonna live, what job do you have to take this time to make sure that all the bills are paid? And for me, I told you how many times I went to school. How am I going to pay these student loans? You know, so it was a hustle, and I was over it. So when a friend offered this full-time job, which started to push out letters and numbers together that I had no idea about, like 401ks and PTO. I was like, what? I don't know what those are, but they sound official. You know what I'm saying? So
W-2.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'll take that. So I moved back to Baltimore, man, with an open heart. I thought I would slow down a bit. I would be back with friends that I knew in the past and family, and I just needed a change. I was in LA for too long. That's why I moved to New Orleans. I love New Orleans. I would still today, I believe, would still be in New Orleans today if that friend didn't call me about this job. So when I moved back to Baltimore, and I was at this ad agency, I love the work of filmmaking. I love coming up with creative ideas and seeing those ideas come to life in moving imagery. Very important to me. I love that. I love that process. And I love, like I said, the design aspect of creating these spaces that you're filming. But what I didn't love about being in an office or working at and the agency life was all the creativity you want to put into something gets stripped down because there's so many voices in the room. So I had to deal with that, and I worked it out. But I told my then girlfriend, who's my wife now, I was like, I need a side hustle. I need to put this energy, this creativity somewhere. I need to push it out somewhere. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do like interior styling on the side, like on my weekends. And when I have my PTO and I use my PTO, maybe I'll spend some of that doing some styling in some people's homes. People really seemed to be engaged with what I was doing in my own home and other little spaces that I had a hand in. And I felt like that would be like a cool thing to just start doing. And I started to do that, man. And that was like a little bit here, a little bit there. I started to work on a new spot that my wife and I were moving into. And I started to share that, the look of this space on social media. And I was trying to get people to look at the design of the space and how it all came together. And while they did take that in, a lot of people are like, I love the look of your space. I love what, that rug chair. But can you tell me what's up with all these plants? You have a lot of plants. There's a lot of plants there. I have that one plant. How did you keep your plant? How is your plant look so much better than mine? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And at this point, I was already like in love with, just my own space and bringing plants into the home. So a friend of mine, we were in Japan, and he saw that I was trying to push this interior styling side hustle via social. And he was like, look, man, I think you need to start talking more about the plants, because it seems like every time I go to your page, people keep asking questions about plants. So why don't you just answer those questions and show more of the plants that you already have in your home? So I started to do that, and one like begets 10, and people start to see it and repost it, and things happen the way social media happens, man. And here I am today, 3 books in, and on a show on the Magnolia Network. Right now, some sort of, I would say, regularly, frequently visits on the Today Show, and putting out Target collections that I hope possibly will continue in the future. So, yeah, man, that's the journey of how I got to where I am right now.
Yeah, and thank you for walking us through that. And there are going to be a few moments where we revisit, certain pieces of that story. But 2 things I want to at least touch on. One that comes to mind is I do the here's my plant sort of thing. Like my partner, she has like the one plant that I have a kokedama, and I got it through a podcast. Someone's like the podcast, here's a kokedama. I was like, oh, well, I named it Nakamura, I named it Shinsuke. So there you have that, Japanese. And I love New Orleans as well. That it's only like 2 other places that I could truly see myself relocating. New Orleans is number 1, and probably Philadelphia is number 2. And that's more so because it's proximity to the people that love me or what have you. But New Orleans would be purely for me. I would have an alias, Robert, or something like that. It would be, I would grow my hair out just to slick it to the side. Yeah. Only seersuckers. That's just what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. So I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about a few of the things that I've seen that are recent, and one that you mentioned a moment ago. So I want to talk about Green Neighbor Shop and why the idea of having a shop locally like resonated with you, and how did that partnership with Good Neighbor come about?
Oh, for sure. Well, it all came about through the process of giving plants and selling plants. I was moving out of a studio space that I called Jungle by the Falls. And to move out of there was a lot of plants I needed to get rid of because they couldn't come into my apartment. So I was selling some of these plants, and I was posting about it, and someone wanted a cactus that I was selling. And that person happened to be Sean. I had never met Sean previous to this. Sean rolled up in a car that I didn't think a cactus would work well in. I was like, I don't know if you should take this cactus home in that car. It might poke 1,000 holes in your upholstery. But he definitely worked it out, I guess, because that cactus is still in the front of Good Neighbor. If you go into Good Neighbor, it's the first cactus that you'll see in front of the little kitchen cooking area. Nice. That's there on the counter. But after that, Sean and I kind of connected just once Good Neighbor now, excuse me. Green Neighbor and Good Neighbor kind of comes off my tongue at the same time, just because we're all part of the same family, I'll say. But once Sean opened Good Neighbor, he told me to come over and pop by and take a look at it, see it, and just come check it out. And when I walked in there, I thought, this guy and I speak the same design language, the same understanding of I guess, curation, for one, what works best in a space, what looks great when it comes to materials and color. And there was that Step Brothers moment where it's like, did we just become best friends? Like that, I think that was the genesis of it. And I had been putting out into the universe via social. Everyone kept saying, like, are you gonna open a plant shop? I talked about this mobile plant shop that I would have loved and would love to have in the future, where I would roll this vehicle. Maybe it's a Sprinter van, maybe it's some old, like a Unimog, I think that's what they're called. These old trucks that you can convert into something awesome, maybe a mobile plant shop. And I was putting that energy out there, and I guess Sean had saw that and reached out to me earlier this year and was like, hey, the old dried florals spot that we have at the top of the hill is no longer. Would you like to take that over and make it a plant shop? And I thought to myself, no. I don't have time for that. But I do want to have a plant shop. I don't know if it's that space. I can't see a plant shop actually being in that space. It doesn't have enough light. It doesn't have enough space. But then I thought, you know what? If I'm going to do anything, it's always good to, get your feet wet a bit, start small, and see how it all works out. And I had never owned a store. I never worked with employees and that sort of, I guess that sort of relationship, like as an owner of something. So I said to Sean, you know what? Let's try it out. Let's see how it goes. I would love to renovate it and bring skylights in and more windows and blah, blah, blah. But let's at least change it. Let's renovate it for the now.
Yeah.
It came about, I think, early March is when things started to come together, and then we opened at the end of March. So it's been awesome so far. It's been great.
Fantastic. And yeah, I mean, that whole collective, and I want to key in on that for a second. That whole collective of people, like, I see Michael over there. I see you working with Sean now and all of that. And I'm like, yeah, all of this kind of makes sense. And you touch on speaking the same, like, the design language. So what is baked into your design language? Like what is baked into that aesthetic for you, or those sensibilities for you? And sure. I asked that because like sometimes we are our references. We are the things that we consume. And it's like, oh yeah, you're trying to do a Hilton Carter or what have you. But it's like, nah, yeah. you don't have that reference point. So tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, I think for the most part, I mean, at this point in my life, I mean, everything that is of Hilton of today, right? Because if this was Hilton of 94, there'd be nothing but Michael Jordan posters everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like if this was Hilton of 2000, there would be gold darts. No. I was in my French noir, new wave wave at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like I was deep in that bag. But like right now, I mean, as I got older, your palate becomes more refined, right? Like things that when we were kids that we didn't eat, and we probably were like, ugh, that now we eat. Things that we didn't drink, we drink. So my taste is a bit more eclectic when it comes to the types of things that I think are going to, for one, make me happy, right, and make my family happy. In the space that we have today. So when it comes to my design language, I've come to this understanding with myself that I would love for everything that is in my world to be a extension of the outside elements, natural tones, textures, shapes, I guess, things that really reflect back to nature, right? Yeah. So in my space, there's a lot of those sort of things in it, and that's kind of what I saw when I saw Sean's aesthetic. Sean's aesthetic was, he kind of had that same understanding. So for me, it's like wood grain, concrete, terracotta. I mean, we're talking normal stuff that you see. I just broke down what a plant would be and what it might be potted in, right?
Yeah.
All of these different materials together, to me, are very important. And then it's the accents, whether it's hard metals or ceramic pottery that I'm just looking around my house and thinking about things, right? But yeah, I think there's something about finding a way in my space to blur that line between the outdoor elements and the inside and keep everything connected, that I kind of let my path when it comes to design lead me for my own personal wants. So that's just my aesthetic. So if ever I'm plant styling someone else's space, let's say, or styling someone else's space, it's got to be notes taken on who those individuals are and how they like to see their space come together and how they like to move through their space. So for me, there's things that I might not initially gravitate towards or think would fit, but then when I see it and I hold it in my hand, I'll go, that thing has something that will sit perfectly in a particular spot. And whether or not it does for the now or if it's for the later, I just know that there's a connection, and then I'll bring it into my home, and then it'll find its way somewhere, So there's a lot of little treasures, I like to say, throughout the home or in my own personal collection that you can see in the shop too. That are just like, this might not be something you need, but it'll help create the story, that backstory of who the individual is who lives or dwells in that space. That goes back to my production design, right? It's just like a pair of shears for cutting your plants. The type of shears the individual has in their home. If I walk into someone's home and I saw a certain pair of shears, I would go, I know exactly who this person is. Off top. You know what I'm saying? That person has a certain type of coffee machine or like a certain type of mug, right? Like whether it's a very small one, no handle, or it's a large one with handle. It says so much about the individual. So those are the things that I think in my aesthetic, that is the language that speaks for me. If you were to come in my space, Rob, and you didn't know anything about me, you should get a pretty great understanding of who I am, what I'm into, and the passion that I have for things that are beautiful, I guess.
Yeah, that's dope. I'm sitting here like just absorbing it, just sitting here like eating it like it's caramel. I know I've said it on the podcast in the past, but yeah, it is one of those things where, I look in a space like over the last 2 years or so, that I've spent the majority of my time in my studio. Like in my I have a second bedroom in my house. I converted to a podcast studio, and I like spending time in here. There's no bed in here. I sleep on the floor in here sometimes because it feels like a much comfortable place. And like I have 2 creative altars here of just different things that people have given me over this 400 plus episodes, like hand painted things as thank you notes and things of that nature. And you look in here, you'll see like my work, and then you'll see like Funko Pops because I'm a weirdo, and you'll see all of my DVDs and my different books, some on art, some comics. And I have an Oni mask in here, and it's just like, this dude is a character. But this is where all of the energy is at within the house, and this is where I'm spending my time. So definitely, I get it. If I ever bring Shinsuke here, I got a cat who's a dick, so I'm a little on the fence. But I want to keep Shinsuke in a safe place. So my partner's place is what it is. So I think that's a natural segue to this next question. Let's talk about why interiors need plants. Why should we have plants? I know there's a lot there.
I mean, look, why do interiors need plants? I'm not someone to tell anyone what they should bring into their homes, but plants add life and energy, oxygen, if you want to get on the real technical benefits, I would say. Now, when you're talking about the amount of oxygen or how much they can clean the air, there's a particular number of plants, and that's a lot of plants you need to really affect how much oxygen is being added or how much filtration is happening when it comes to the cleaning of the air. But they are a way to connect us, which I feel is a very natural, and this might sound very woo-woo, but it's a way to connect us in our minds and our hearts back to nature and settles us. So I think at the end of the day, like anyone who has decided, oh man, I've had such a rough week, or I had such a rough few months, I'm going to go on vacation. Typically, most of us go on vacation to a place that has a lot of outdoor space, right? Natural elements, sun, trees, sand, maybe they're taking their shoes off, they're taking their shirts off, maybe they're running around, they're jumping in water. They're letting themselves experience the outdoor elements. And when you have a plant in your home, it brings that outdoor element in. Now, when it comes to us, let's say for us living in Baltimore, the outdoors, the greenery of the outdoors, it's fall right now. By the time this comes out, maybe it'll be winter, and there won't be any green outside.
No,
really,
not at all.
You're gonna want to feel that connection, that warmth of spring or summer during that time. And when you bring plants in, they create a more warm environment. They soften hard edges that can be created in an indoor space. They make the individuals who are around them feel a bit more alive themselves. The process of care, when you're caring for a plant, especially through those colder months, can really be gratifying, and also just supportive when it comes to the energy that you are getting out of seeing that plant produce new growth, and can provide you with a lot of positive hits, right?
Yeah.
That serotonin that comes through is through the process of good care of a plant. And I think those are reasons why someone should have a plant in their home. Now, if you're looking to really feel the true benefits of plant life, there's bringing plants in, like there's so many ways to style a plant using different types of pottery, different types of plants that have different colors or textures, things of that nature that can really connect to your aesthetic, like we were talking about earlier, versus just grabbing one of the typical house plants that you might find at your grocery store, your local hardware store, or one of these big box stores.
Where's my succulent? I like what you described there, and I have two more real questions before we get to the rapid fire ones. But sure. I like what you described there a moment ago, because I thought about going into an environment and that shift that happens. It's almost like teleportation in some ways, where I remember the first time going into Alma Cocina, I was like, oh, I'm in South America now. And part of it is because of the plant life that's in there. It's very inviting, and it feels like I'm on vacation, even though I'm in Station North.
For sure.
Yeah. So one of the words, I think it's a portmanteau, but one of the words that came up several times in doing the research for this interview was plantfluencer. I don't know how I feel about that word. How do you feel about being influential in terms of your design background, in terms of writing the books, several books at this point, and being a native of Baltimore and all of the cool things that have come your way, and the cool things that you've worked for, obviously? Yeah.
First, Rob, I want to influence anyone listening to this podcast today to never say plantfluencer. That is the worst.
Thank you.
That is the worst thing. Anytime someone brings that up, that cringe emoji or whatever it is, like I hate it. I hate it so much. The influencer stuff is, I don't know, it gets a bad rap when it comes to being an influencer, right? Like like everything that I put out on social media is to hopefully inspire someone, especially in the books. They are to inspire others to help them style or bring in greenery into their homes in a more purposeful, artful way. And when it comes to being called an influencer, I think people see the title influencer as more as like a branded sort of thing, where you're like, this post is for, I don't know, Magnolia Network. Come watch Hilton Carter as he showed. blah, blah, blah. And then obviously then I'm like, this is a paid post. And I think that's where that influencer comes from. A plant influencer is just a trash title. I don't, you'll never hear me call myself that. I rarely ever call myself influencer, but being an influencer, someone who has the ability to influence, someone has the ability to hopefully inspire individuals here in Baltimore, outside of Baltimore, and hopefully the world is where I would like to push my influence, my the way I can show people a better way of creating the space. It's been amazing, honestly. And then being from Baltimore, living in Baltimore, in showing that you can share your passion beyond your block, your neighborhood, your city, your state, to me is one of the most gratifying things that I can do. I mean, as a kid living in Baltimore, the job that I have today would have never even thought of it. I've never, like, no one had come to me, no one in my life had a job like this. No one around me put the effort into plants, I guess, or the home as I have. So it's nice to show my younger cousins' kids, or my friends' kids, or hopefully my kids, what is possible for them, and that is whatever they want to put their minds to and be passionate about, deeply passionate about, can become their profession. They just gotta stick to it and know how to be be a part of it. I think a lot of the things that I think what helped me at the end of the day is just the fact that I was already working on the tools necessary to be a part of the social media space, right? Like I said, I was a filmmaker, so making video content was already there. Understood how to make video, which means I took photo classes. So if there was photos need to be taken for a platform that's about photos or video,
you're there.
I'm right there. The idea of being able to put a lot of energy and thoughtfulness, like when it comes to creativity, into an image, a still image, and understanding composition, color, and how to make one's eye move around a frame. I had already been given that. I got that when I was in high school. And then I worked for an ad agency. So it's like, how do you write a caption for an ad? How do we write so when it came to me and the platform, it was like, okay, I think I have these tools ready to go. Maybe I should just put this together. And that stuff, I'll say, was right for the moment. So there's a lot of people who I would say have the ability to understand plants and care and plant styling maybe, but I think it just so happened that I had all these other little bits and pieces in my toolkit that helped me earlier to get where I am. And I'm just thankful for that. And I would say, like, that is the thing that I want people to, if I can influence anyone here, it's like, that's the takeaway. It's whatever you're doing, that thing somehow will be beneficial at some point in your life. You just never know. Like, this wasn't writing 3 books about plants, being on a show about plant care and plant styling, having an opportunity to work with bigger brands, whether that's having collections that are with plants or pots and accessories. That was never a part of my dream. Never did I sit and go, oh man, I can't wait for this thing to come about.
Come on, Target, make it
Yeah,
happen.
come on, please. You know, but there's something about the not saying that everyone needs to be like a Swiss Army knife, but having the ability to go, I did this thing. Like sometimes and I will say this, when you come out of college, and it's probably more so now that is going to need this, is that people shut down or push away a thing that they feel like isn't in the path of the thing that they see that needs to be them, versus accepting that thing and seeing how that thing, at least understanding how that could shift into something that is getting even closer to what they truly want to be them, and can make them feel fulfilled. Yeah. But for me, it was just like this thing that, like, I love being surrounded by plants. I love that feeling. And it just so happened that was the thing that at the end of the day, which is today, made my life a bit happier, like made me understand what was supposed to be my next, I would say, wave into what would hopefully in the future, I guess, and I'm still putting this out there, that makes me put out a feature film somewhere down the line. Who knows? But I never close myself. I never close a door and say, that isn't me anymore. I can't do that. Like when people ask about like, so what do you do? Like, what is your title? Like, it's hard to say. Now I always try to say artist because I think it all fits under that bucket. It all fits in that bucket or under that umbrella of artist, right? Like, I still paint. I still shoot video and try to write as many short stories to possibly put out there, because I know that those things are what keeps everything sharp, keeps my mind focused on being better. So, yeah, man, I don't know what your question was, because now I've just gone off.
No. And that, it is funny because that actually answered the last question too. So that, it's kind of that daily double sort of situation there. But I feel that though, where, I start looking back at things that I used to do. Like, I joke about it on occasion because I'm hosting a movie night tonight. And awesome. There's always a fair amount of trepidation when getting on stage, because I have this the screen of fear protection of like, I'm just talking to Hilton right over through the glass right now, so it doesn't really matter as much. But when it's in person, it's like, okay, do I have a boogie? Like, what's good? Like, what are we doing? But I look at when I was a kid, I was an MC for like elementary school, like graduation.
Oh wow.
And something like that, or kind of diving into these things of presenting in front of people and having an interest in art and having an interest in whether it's me doing art, doing murals when I was younger, or even doing comic books when I was younger, to ultimately getting into writing terrible raps, terrible high school raps. None of them are good. And I wanted to be a brand name rapper. I used to only wear Mecca. So nice. my name was Nom Mecca. It was not good. It was not good. There are some raps here somewhere that I will never play. But and then always, because I had this recording equipment with me and these these micro recorders, because I don't want to lose the magic. I don't want to lose the freestyle bars or have you. And I would just talk to people almost like, like the dick recorders, like, so, tell me about this. Yeah. And that was me proto podcasting. I can timestamp that back to, I'm 37 now, so I can timestamp that back to 23 years ago. Oh, wow. And kind of going through that process that ultimately gets me to here. And in doing podcasts nearly 14 years and seeing that, this is what I like about doing these things, and all of these different steps in a very self-taught sort of way got me here. Having a business background with an analytics sort of side to it helps me understand some of the data behind it. So if I bring on someone that is a creator in this area or a DP to do film and things of that nature, I have the numbers to say, so what's this ROI? Tell me about that. So that's how those things connect. And I'll lastly say, I think one of the things you touched on of maybe I'm not like this anymore, so let me get rid of that and really focus in this area. I think it's embracing all of it, because when you start cutting off pieces of who you were or who you are, that's formative stuff. And you have this, like, I read that you have this phantom limb syndrome. It's like, oh, well, I don't do this anymore. So, but you never stop liking it. You just stop doing it because, whatever tastes or someone got in your ear and said, this isn't worth your time. But eventually you always return to your square.
There it is. Yeah.
So with that, I want to hit you with these rapid fire questions. They're ridiculous. I've added some since we've been talking. But remember, brevity is key here. Don't overthink them because we all do it.
Just go.
Okay.
I got you.
Nicknames. What's the nickname that you have?
Pancake.
That's great. Whenever there's a food nickname, my brother's nickname is Meatball. So it always is just funny because you're already like, how'd you get it? Who said it? And you're like, you know what? You're never going to tell me. You're never going to tell me.
Yeah.
Okay, so your next book, let's talk about that a little bit because I have this question. I think it ties them together very well. And this is kind of a little bit of a break from the rapid fire, but I at least want to throw this in there. If the title of your next book includes the word wild, what would that title be?
Living Wild.
So tell us about that real quick.
That's the title of the book, Living Wild, how to plant style a space and cultivate happiness. Coming out next spring, I guess. Yeah. So that's it. It's a bigger format book. It's very design heavy. Some of the folks that you mentioned earlier in the podcast, the folks of Alma, Cocina, some of the spaces that I've styled here in Baltimore are featured in there as well. So yeah, man.
Shout out. That's the first time I've ever broken up a rapid fire section to do a shameless plug, but I like it because it worked out. It worked out. So. Perfect. Because I need to know this one. What's your favorite New Orleans food?
Barbecue shrimp.
Okay. I'm a shrimp and grits guy, but, I can give you a pass,
Okay. Okay.
Now, I'm looking for more of a funny answer here. Like if someone asked me this question, I would say, I talk to people who are smarter than me.
Okay.
Describe what you do, but do it poorly. Describe like it's like I look at plants and stuff. It's like describe what you do, but poorly.
What? Describe what I do? Do it poorly.
I know, right? I'm a plant fluencer.
So yeah, I guess. You know what? My baby voice, like talking to my daughter in a baby voice, is like I'm terrible at it. I don't know. Like I'm just terrible. It's the worst thing ever. So I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but that's something I can say I do, and I'm just awful. I'm awful at it, and I continue to do it.
So I read a story that I read that your plant story starts off with you having a fiddle leaf fig named Frank. That's a lot of F's there.
Yep.
What is the oddest name you've given to a plant?
Not the oddest, but the coolest. I would say trees.
Okay. That's actually very strong. That's in the pun lane too. So I'm here for it.
Exactly.
I'm here for it. There was talk. I never made it happen, but I'm going to say it on this podcast just so someone can't take my timestamp on it. I wanted to do a dance party here with 90s music called New Jack-O-Lantern Swing.
Nice.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. Is that a Halloween? Is that a Halloween theme?
That is a Halloween theme.
We need to do it. Oh, you need to do it.
People don't listen to me, man. People, they kind of half listen and they're like, no, that's a good idea. Then 6 months later, yeah. This is the last question I got for you. So, like many of us, we're doing multiple things, multi-hyphenated and so many different things that we're doing. A lot of times people just see the end product, right? What do you do for regenerative purposes? Because you have, like, outside of your work, you're a husband, you're a dad, you're your own individual. So what do you do that's regenerative? What do you do to refill your cup?
That's a great question. And I don't know how much of a rapid fire question it is. That just seems like just a good question to ask. Oh man. I'd be lying to you if I told you I spent the time to do so. I think the moments right now where I get that opportunity are when it's just my daughter, my wife, and I, or when we go on vacation. So trying to break away as often as possible to go on certain vacations. We haven't had one in a while just because I've been working on this book and other projects. But I think that's it. I go away. I get to that space that I was talking about earlier, under palm trees and toes and sand, or walking the streets of a city I've never seen before, and taking note to the architecture and patterns and colors of things that could possibly, it's stuff that gets me excited. Going to like a museum and looking at art. Going to every news or every city I go to, I have to check out their conservatory or their botanical garden, just because those spaces are just settling for me. That's a way to get me back to zero and find myself just pushing everything else aside and being just me at that moment. But yeah, man, there's not a lot of time spent doing these like things that aren't about the work or about my family. Like I think that's I try. You know what? Honestly, like Rob, I think the stuff that people find like as work, and I feel fortunate to say this, but I still haven't done any work in this space that I'm in. I haven't worked a day. Like as soon as I get off this, I gotta go write some captions for my book. And during the process of doing that, I never go, God, I hate this. This is boring, or this is. I'm like, I can't believe. I still can't believe it. I can't believe someone's paying me to do this, to write captions of some photos I took at someone's house that I styled with plants. This is crazy to me. This is crazy to me. I can't believe I get to take my daughter through a house that we live in. Never lived in a house as a kid. I never owned a house as a kid. And to have my daughter have that opportunity, to me, just like everything's awesome. So when you talk about like, how do I separate myself? I try not to, because I put myself in a position to be in a space that is I feel very comfortable and very happy in. So every moment that I have an opportunity to do something like I had spent so much time watering plants. A lot of them actually I put outside because it's raining today. I was like, I'm gonna stick them outside, let the elements do what they do. And I'm going through that process. There's a lot of plants. And I just think like, to me, like that's just so fulfilling. And that is like, let me take a break from writing and let me go water some plants.
Yeah.
But that also is, Rob, a part of my job, which is a weird thing to say, but it's like, as if my job was taking care of my daughter. I once told someone, it was in a podcast I did back in 2018, and I still say it today. And it still rings true today. If my job was to love my wife, and that's it, man, I would do a very good job. I would do a great job at my job, and I would love every part of it. Like it'd be awesome to just have that be it, and to have my job be to take care of plants, which I was doing before it was my job, is just a blessing, man. And it's an awesome space to be in. And so yeah, so even when I'm taking those moments and getting back to Zen and finding my way, those moments are always me in the same sort of like space. It's still me like tending to a plant, because that's where all of that, like, I need to shut this stuff down. Let me go tend to some plants, because there's like what's going on here? And I'm just like looking at the plant and figuring it all out. And it settles me, and it keeps me calm, and it's making me a better husband. It's making me a better father, I think, too, because I used to be wound very tight, bro, like insanely tight. I told you that freelance lifestyle is not good. It's not good. And I used to worry about so much. And when I started caring for plants, it was like that ball was starting to get loose, and the strings were finding their ways like to spread themselves out. And I just found myself just like, that Bruce Lee saying, right? Be water, right? It's just like, I'm water, baby. I'm just like letting it happen. So I think at this moment, like I find everything to be work, but it's also fun, play, and it's also a way to get me back to my true self. So I'm fortunate to have that all be the same.
That's wonderful, and thank you for that, because yeah, I definitely relate to that in many ways, especially the travel component. Like, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Where's the street art and coffee?
Yeah,
where are the things that I'm into? That's kind of what it is. And being able to have that kind of loop of work being play, like, if I'm, this is a big chunk of my time, and doing anywhere between 10 to 20 podcasts in a week while having the day job and all the other responsibilities. But it's my thing. It's the thing that really balances it out and keeps me energized and keeps me having interesting people. It's for a person that is shy or what have you, being able to talk with a glass of with a glass of fearfulness in front of me makes it easier to network in that regard. And
hold on real quick. So you consider yourself shy?
I consider myself shy, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I don't consider myself a shy person. People might say I'm an extrovert. I see myself as an introvert, but who might be extroverted at certain situations. I grew up, like you were talking about earlier, about the want to be like a rapper and all that stuff. Like in college, I picked up rapping somehow. And me and my friend put out an album in college. I would do all these raps and like freestyle sessions and at parties, blah, blah, blah. But before all that, when I was a kid, the shyness was very present. I was very to myself because I had a terrible stutter. So I had this stutter that I could not figure out how to get over, and somehow I worked my way in college. Somehow I worked my way through that process. And seeing you here, it's like that doesn't seem like a shy individual who has this sort of job, right? Or passion to talk to people. But like you said, this isn't a you and me at a party and you walking up to me like, hey man, let's chop it up. Let's have a conversation.
Hey man, how's it going, man?
Hey, you like plants? Tell me a little bit more about it. Let me
any seedlings popping? No, but that's a true thing. And it's funny, like I'm better one-on-one with people, but it's just one of those things where it's a number. It's like that timer goes off and it's like, all right, that's about 20 people. Okay, cool. And sometimes when you're in these sort of scenes, and I think the last time I saw you was at the Union Joint, the 10th anniversary. And I was like,
did I see you?
I don't think you saw me, but I definitely saw you, because I was talking to my girl. I was like, yo, there's HC right there. She was like, all right. She was like, you don't know him though. I was like, But
hey man, say what's up. But yeah, I was there. That's the last thing I could say, that if it's not like a good neighbor, a green neighbor thing, I'm not there. I'm not out in the world. Like I don't even know what that is. And so when I was there, I was just like, this is a moment for me to experience and to maybe talk to the people that I know. Yeah. But you're in that situation and you're just like, I'm not going to talk to many people, because that's a different place. That's not where I would say shy people end up.
I have an override. I have an override of following ambition. Like, I ran into this like recently where it burned me, where I did this sort of big networking thing. And it just wasn't for me. It was just not that vibe. And I was like, kind of go back as you come out of that shell and you kind of go after ambition. And you're saying, oh, this is the thing that I should do because it's going to get me out there and be in the community. It overrides whatever shyness is there. But when it's something that kind of blows back, you're like, yeah, I should not have left my little island, my island of my pod island.
I hear you.
Podcast island.
I hear you.
What I want to do here is I want to get to the wrap up portion and give you an opportunity to please tell the fine folks where to check you out online, social media, all of that stuff. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I think the moments of being able to have conversations about myself are very strange, but it's fun to have conversations with people. Right. And as you mentioned earlier, if you're going to be tagged with influencer, having those moments where you can share how things happen in your life to get you where you are, I think can hopefully maybe inspire someone who listens to this. So I appreciate that. Where can people find me? Hopefully you can find me at Green Neighbor on Falls Road, right up the hill from our partners, Good Neighbor Coffee Shop. It's not even a coffee shop, man. It's just it's a lifestyle shop.
Yeah.
People drink coffee and anything else that you consider that can make your interior space a bit brighter, I think is sold at Good Neighbor and also at Green Neighbor. So maybe you'll find me there hosting a workshop. Maybe you'll find me there just having a sip of coffee, buying plants myself. The people who work at Green Neighbor, they're probably like, why is this guy just buying plants? He's like buying his own plants. It's
like this is inside baseball, Hilton. What are you doing?
Man. Hey man, I love it. Like I bought there's all our dinnerware that's in this house I bought from Good Neighbor. It's like I told you, man. Our aesthetics are connected. So it's perfect. But you can find me there. You can find me on social, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, I guess. Hilton Carter is mainly where you can find me, I believe, on those accounts. And then you can find me on bookshelves, wherever books are sold. Having plant books and plant care and plant styling conversations. You can find me on the Magnolia Network in their workshop section, or maybe in their regular content section. I think we're on HBO Max now, but don't take my word for that. I believe that's where Magnolia Network is now. But also there's an app, and you can find me. I don't know, wherever you find me. Like you found me at the Union events, anniversary events. Hopefully I can put myself in positions to be at more Baltimore events. That's my goal. But after having a kid and COVID, there's been a lot of just like Hilton at home. So I hope to get out. I hope to get out there and see more people and be a part of the community. And I don't know. I'm probably missing some things that are going to be coming up, but I'll post about it. I'll talk about it. And by the time this comes out, maybe you'll share a little bit more about it. So, yeah.
There you have it, folks. I want to again thank Hilton Carter for coming onto the podcast and chopping it up with me and sharing his story. And for Hilton Carter, I'm Rob Lee, saying that there is art, business, plants in and around Baltimore. You just got to look for them.